Okay, so this is kind of a continuation. It's a dialogue between Hiberniason and I. And I gotta work tonight, so I gotta get to bed very soon. I already worked all day, and I gotta come back in tonight. So let's try to roll this off. I did a video originally, and those of you who are subbed to me, I already got a 1 thumbs down on it. But I'm sure it's because it had Christian-oriented material. And see, this is what, I believe, and this is what I pattern my life by, is my religious beliefs. And I believe in God. I'm a Christian. And he PM'd me a question of whether, what's my stance as far as morality and scavenging are concerned. Now, when I did the video, I wasn't sure what premise exactly what we're talking. How bad of a grid down? Are we talking Mad Max type of grid down? And it seems to be that's, his answer. And the 2 videos, looters will be shot, and then there's the morality of scavenging are in my comment box below. So you can follow the dialogue. And he did a couple other videos, but I haven't even watched them, nor do I have the time to watch them. I'll have to watch them tomorrow when I somehow wake up from my slumber. But I wanted to address, now, this is a scenario now if we're dealing with total grid down, millions of people dead, severe EMP threat type of attack. That's what we're going to be focusing on. And my last video, I showed a lot of looting. Now, part of the reason why I was showing looting is kind of showing the kind of a comparison to what I was talking about scavenging, and then out and out looting for greed or direct personal gain. Even though scavenging, in a sense, is for personal gain, but it also is for the greater good of other people that are within your group or other people that you might be responsible for in your community. So I wanted to show the looting side, and I also wanted to kind of show how quick shelves can be cleared. As Hiberniason says, it's grist for the mill. It really puts things in perspective when you see that. And you can never see enough of those videos, because it really, I think, always emboldens or solidifies what's in someone who's preparedness-minded. Now, you're right, Irish, on the fact that if you know for a fact that the person whose property you are going to commandeer for whatever it is, you mentioned a tractor, let's say. We'll say a tractor. If you know that they're gone, and it should be collected for the greater common good. Yeah, I agree with that. Now, I'm not saying that you go into some kind of suicide pact where you refuse to take anything that's presented to you. I totally understand that whole that little story that's sometimes told, even though it's not biblical, but it puts in kind of perspective of the thing you're talking about, where the guy's stranded in a boat, and he's praying that he's going to be saved, and a boat comes by, and then a plane flies over, and he just refuses to flag it down because God's going to save me, and then a helicopter comes by, and he waves the helicopter away. God's going to save me, I'm waiting for him. A boat goes by, and he says, God is going to save me, and lets it go by. And then eventually the guy dies, ends up in heaven. And he's like, well, why didn't you, save me? And, well, I sent you the plane. I sent you the helicopter. I sent you the boat. So I get your premise, and I agree with it to a degree. And when I say to a degree is because you have to, and I think you do, especially considering I'm coming from more of a civilian perspective, because I don't have military experience besides what I've studied and read, and that doesn't really amount to a hill of beans when you're actually in a real military style situation. And if at all it will help me in some certain way, knowledge is always power. But you are, in a sense, as you've done videos on, you're kind of that sheepdog. You're the guy that and you've been put in a lot of your people in your group are of a military or police background. So that in a sense puts you into a responsibility that a lot of people pretty much, aren't held to. God actually, as far as and it's supported in Scripture, God appoints whomever is in power. He allows that to come into being. He's sovereign. And so you're going to have a unique responsibility as far as your perimeter watching and policing in a area where there is no police. So scavenging in homes or places in which the occupants are either dead or definitely abandoned. And this is where I mentioned the community. What's good about my area is we have a club kind of community for the neighborhood where they gather together. So we have kind of a semi-structure. I wouldn't even go as far as say government, but it's a semi-structured setup where we're already upheld to each other, going and meeting and discussing what to better the neighborhood with. And so that's paramount, having neighbors and being on some kind of page. So as I said in my last video, if your neighbors are leaving or they're getting out of Dodge and you're staying, you choose to stay. You also should, in that moment, like if I need to take anything from your house or utilize anything, is that okay? You always secure that permission from the people if you can. If not, then of course, if those are opportunities and blessings in a sense that God is giving you, and once again, you're right. If they return and can prove that this is their property, then there has to be some kind of amends there. You have to, for the sake of rebuilding society, you have to try to hold on to those threads and structures that make society what it is. And as far as the way I look at it, that Judeo-Christian foundation would be first and foremost, and then you build on from there. Common courtesy, man to man, as you said. So don't confuse that I would just sit here and wait, for the inevitable. Will I be jumping out and securing things right away? No, I would sit back and wait for a period of time, and I'm sure you're going to frown at that because you're probably going to be jumping out and securing everything at a moment's notice. And no, you can never prep everything you need. I never said I do, but I have enough of what I need for sure for at least a year's period. When it comes to medicine, like everything that I do, I encompass. One, I don't even bother with power. Everything that I have is if the power is gone. I have enough batteries for about a year's time, and that's pretty much it. Because inevitably, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have the know-hows to put together, some kind of electrical situation or to get electricity, and nor do I do quite well without it, to be honest with you. It's a little harder, but it's not something. The 14 days during Hurricane Sandy, they had no power. If I didn't have to keep going to work, that was the most inconvenience to me, is having to have to go to work every single day, because then, you have to take a shower, you have to do certain things. I have other ways to bathe and stuff, but you're more guaranteed to get a heck of a lot dirty when you're going to work and in the work that I do. So it became a much more stressful situation. But in a grid down situation, you're going to be home. You're going to be stuck at home. And so that's part of why I have what I have. So I have my home base as set up as I can. But like I said, it's only a year's time. It's better to me to have a year's time of making a rational next move decision. Like you'd have those first 6 months, as far as I'm concerned, to kind of see how things are happening. But if it gets to that point where you're saying, and we're a month in and it's looking like there is no chance that anything is coming back, then yes, then you start collectively getting together with your neighbors that are left or are still there, and you start, as far as I'm concerned, then you start looking at what you have around you, your surroundings. I'm not very pro going to stores and whatnot, because that's where everyone else is going to go to. I think that's too risky. It's not worth, as you always say, the juice isn't worth the squeeze in that scenario as far as scavenging. But as far as scavenging the immediate area, I think that the premise that you had in that first video, where you have this one area, this direct center part of your area, is exactly the way people should think. That now this neighborhood is your country, in a sense. It's your mini country, and you got to treat it as such. So if it comes down to that type of scenario, and you are right, biblically speaking, God looks at the heart. It's the intent of the act. That's the difference. Like, mankind can't really see that the way God can. So if you're doing something for a self-centered, selfish reason, then that will be sought out and sought after. God will see that, and you will be judged accordingly. So those who seek God, those like you, myself, who are concerned with seeking out the truth as far as who God is and what our faith is, we're always going to keep that as a centerpiece, regardless what's going on in the outside world. And that's the main thing to keep a focus on. And so if our intent is to secure things for the better of the community, then that is noble, that is righteous, as you said. And in the end, there is consequence to all things of breaking God's law, but as we've mentioned, he does look at the heart, and you have to do what you have to do, especially when you have the responsibility of others. And if you're thrown into that position of leadership, that is what you have to do. Hopefully I'll be able to get that interview with Ann Munka. She wasn't around last weekend. I will attach another video that One Ugly Guy sent me, and this is also Ray Mears. He's a survivalist, and he goes and talks to some of the survivors from this Belsky Brigade. Everybody who's a prepper, as far as I'm concerned, should study this, read Defiance, not just watch the movie, read the book, Defiance, and really understand, because that is exactly what we're talking about. Only in their situation, they're actually fighting, taking care of 1,200 people, and what's unique about them is 1,200 people, whether it be children, old people, sick, soldier or non-soldier, that is exactly what it will be like if it comes down to it. The only difference is they had an aggressor that they had to fight with immediately. There's no telling what aggression you would come about. I think people would be more trying to adapt to this new society that is developed with this grid down before real threats start to happen. Unless, of course, you're in a very populated city-like environment, then you're probably going to have to deal with threats a lot quicker. And it is all about the condensing of population that ups your chances of running into malcontents. So that's it. That's my next response to your video. And hopefully that clears up a little bit. And don't worry, I don't take offense. You're letting your Irish get out of you. I don't take offense. And thing is, you're sincere with your delivery, and you actually, I truly can tell you care about people in general. Otherwise, you wouldn't be putting yourself out in the line the way you've done just by your service to the country. And I believe that of our servicemen and women, that when you serve, you're not just serving yourself, you're serving many others, and that creates another mentality in a person, I believe. So anyway, do your best, let God do the rest. I gotta go to bed. Take care.